And the Great Britain is not so great anymore.
A crippling cost of living crisis, crumbling infrastructure, medical staff on strike, a looming recession. All this is squeezing the life out of the people.
The UK's decision to leave the European Union.
The United Kingdom has changed its prime minister more often than you change your socks. And now its economy is on the verge of recession as GDP crashes, debt hits record levels, and Sunak pledges fails.
The nation is in the grip of a cost of living crisis.
A currency collapse, soaring borrowing rates, investors and businesses in despair.
And the worst part is, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland stand poised to break free, leaving England adrift in a sea of uncertainty. One nation's independence could trigger a chain reaction, tearing the UK apart. They called it Great Britain. Now it's Great Depression 2.0. More than 47,000 businesses are on the verge of collapse, and 1.46 million people are unemployed. On top of this, the UK is the only G7 country to never recover economically from COVID-19. The UK's economy has taken a hit, shrinking by 0.1% from July to September. This negative growth trend started in the previous quarter, from April to June, when there was zero growth. If the current quarter also shows a decline, the UK will officially be in a recession. People in Britain aren't waiting for an official declaration. They feel the recession is already here, with no growth, fewer jobs, small pay raises, and high costs. Despite the gloomy outlook, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak remains optimistic, claiming the UK is the best country for investment and business. However, this viewpoint is met with skepticism. Once an economic powerhouse, the UK is now labeled one of the poorest countries in Western Europe by experts, citing lower wages, high national debt, and a less productive labor force. Actually, this isn't a recession, it's a national suicide. But how did a nation once known for its stability and prosperity end up in such a mess? Well, the UK's collapse wasn't a sudden event. It was a slow burn fueled by a series of bad decisions and missed opportunities that brought Britannia to its knees. The first piece of the puzzle is the financial crisis of 2008. I have a question for you. What makes the UK relevant today? Like, Japan is known for exporting cars, the USA has a reputation for exporting weapons, and China exports viruses. What about the UK? What's its main product? If I had to sum it up in one word, it's stability. Think about it. London has maintained stability for the last 500 years. Enduring wars, epidemics, and changes in leadership, the city has stood strong through it all. This stability is a magnet for major global banks such as HSBC, Barclays, and Standard Chartered, all of which have their global headquarters in London. The UK's economy relies heavily on these financial services. Following the 2008 financial crisis, concerns arose about the potential collapse of this economic foundation. The recession hit hard, causing business slowdowns and job losses. To address the economic downturn, the solution adopted was to inject money into the hands of the people. When direct distribution wasn't feasible, indirect methods were employed to stimulate economic activity. Take a look at this chart. A housing loan initially had a 6.5% interest rate in June 2008 for borrowers, but suddenly dropped to 2.5% within 3 to 4 months. As a result, the money that would have been used for interest payments remained in people's pockets, giving them more cash to spend on various items. This in turn boosted their purchasing power, leading to an overall increase in demand. Now, you might think that reducing interest rates is a short-term fix, and once the economy bounces back, rates will go up again. However, the interesting part is that the rates continue to decrease. In 2021, individuals could secure loans at an incredibly low rate of 1.5%. This ongoing trend, though, wasn't sustainable. Fast forward to 2022. After 2 years of the pandemic, the UK had to take corrective measures. Interest rates reached their highest point in 15 years. For an average family, this meant spending 27% of their monthly income solely on paying off home loan interest. This additional financial burden came unexpectedly in the last 2 years, catching people off guard. Britain, that colonized a large part of the world. The same Britain remembered nationalism in 2016 and made a disastrous choice: Brexit. It was propounded and then compounded by incompetent and venal politics, sophisticated disinformation campaigns, delusional politicians on both left and right, and a populace broken to the point of apathy by endless austerity. Every sane person and every decent economist and social thinker left in the country, which, to be fair, wasn't many, was horrified by Britain's bizarre choice to leave the EU. Why end the right to live and work in 27 countries? For nothing? For the shibboleth that came to be known as sovereignty? So, post-Brexit, the number of professionals used to come from the EU dwindled. This situation and many other factors resulted in inflation, compounded by Brexit and changes in interest rates. Consumer inflation surged, and everyday essentials such as low-fat milk, flour, cheese, and yogurt experienced steep price hikes, making life more expensive for the average citizen. While Brexit promised sovereignty, it delivered slower growth, trade friction, labor shortages, and political division, leaving its long-term success still open to debate. So, in a recession, job opportunities are scarce, and when inflation kicks in, prices start going up. Now, imagine dealing with both at the same time. That's what we call stagflation. It's a situation where economic growth is pretty much at a standstill, meaning things are not improving much. On one hand, the economy is slow to grow, and on the other, the prices of goods are shooting up. Okay, so last piece of the puzzle is the new government. This marked a turning point for the UK economy, before the challenges brought on by the COVID-19 crisis and the Russia-Ukraine war, and even before Boris Johnson's government faced its downfall. The state of the UK's economy wasn't in great shape. In fact, things were poised to worsen. With the question of who would succeed Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, two prominent names emerged: Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. Eventually, Liz Truss assumed the role.
I am confident that together we can ride out the storm.
Truss's signature policy was a package of unfunded tax cuts aimed at boosting growth. However, these cuts were heavily criticized for disproportionately benefiting the wealthy and causing financial instability. In essence, the question arose, if it takes £100 to sustain the UK economy, where does this money come from? Cutting taxes would have given the UK an extra £80. However, the question arises, where will the remaining £20 come from? Expenses like road construction, government employee salaries, and oil imports will still need funding. Obviously, to cover the revenue gap, the government will have to incur debt by borrowing money. In the aftermath of these decisions, discontent spread. The people, the IMF, and investors were unhappy. The opposition party criticized the new prime minister, but even her own Conservative Party voiced criticism. To secure her position, Liz Truss had to make some U-turns. The finance minister was dismissed, and the proposed removal of the 45% tax bracket, which would have primarily benefited the wealthy, was reversed. This situation affected the UK's stability, a strength highlighted earlier. Investors began selling the pound, causing it to weaken against the dollar. And when the economy was out of control, Liz resigned just after disastrous 49 days in office. So, while Rishi Sunak has taken steps to stabilize the situation after Truss's turbulent period, the UK is still struggling due to lingering effects from Brexit, Truss's policies, broader economic and geopolitical challenges, and ongoing political instability. However, the situation might deteriorate in the coming years as Scotland now desires independence. The country has faced significant challenges following Brexit and is considering rejoining the European Union, so one nation's independence could trigger a chain reaction, tearing apart the economy and, eventually, the UK. Subscribe now and prepare to be shocked, enraged, and maybe a little wiser. Thanks for watching.